What kind of food do they eat? What kind of games do they play? And what kind of a belief system do they have? So you have to get really granular when it comes to understanding who is it for.
If you're struggling with positioning your personal brand, then this video is for you. Hello guys, my name is Sahas and I'm a brand strategist and I help experts just like yourself to humanize your brand. Before we dive right into the content, please do subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for the latest updates.
So I really get asked this question a lot when it comes to brand positioning, and when somebody's looking to build their personal brand and they ask me, Sahas, I really don't know where do I stand in terms of all the competition that I have in my industry. And it's a very valid question, because how do you distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd? How do you position yourself so that people realize that you are the only person that they want to work with? But what is really important to understand here is that you really don't want to be working with everyone. You want to be working with people who connect with you, who resonate with you, and actually who you really want to serve. So it really doesn't come down to how many thousands or 10,000s or millions of people that you want to cater. What really matters is, what is your smallest viable audience? Who do you want to serve initially? So your positioning has to be around that smallest viable audience. And when I talk about the smallest viable audience, it doesn't have to be thousands of people. Then again, it can be as small as 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, 100 people in your circle who you think you can help and solve their problem. When it comes to personal branding and brand positioning, it's really important to speak what exactly you do and where you stand into doing those things. Like in terms of, like, if let's say if you're a real estate investor, it's really important to establish your positioning when you're building up your brand and even your personal brand, that what kind of audience that you want to cater, what kind of people that you want to serve. So in order to really understand that, you have to understand what exactly about your positioning that you are going to talk about. Let's take an example. Let's say, what kind of a real estate agent are you? Are you the one who helps somebody through your services? Like, you could service any kind of property, may that be multifamily, may that be a single family or a townhouse or a condominium. If that is so, then you have to get a little more granular in your approach and understanding that a lot of people are providing those services. So what makes you stand apart from that particular sector? So in order to do that, you have to do a little bit of exercise in understanding where do you position yourself in all that scenario. Before I dive right into the positioning questions, I think it's really important to also touch on the factors like prices, positioning, strategy, or what kind of a market cap that you're trying to figure out in terms of providing your services. Like, if your service is product based or is it some kind of a luxury. So it's also important to really understand, are you positioning yourself in terms of pricing? Are you positioning yourself in terms of the strategy that you use, which provides a lot of solutions and solves the problems around in that particular sector? Or is it that you provide luxury quality or some kind of a medium quality products where you are trying to commoditize that product? Or the positioning could also be based on the competition, the level of competition that you have. These are pretty much standard positioning questions, but what is really important to know is that this is something that I say quite often, even in my personal coaching program, and even when I help somebody in as a creative agency in providing brand solutions. Who is it really for? You have to come back to this question time and again in understanding this, because if you are unclear of who your target audience is, then you will be just all over the place. So always, whenever you're making content for social media, whenever you're making a blog post or whatever you're doing, you have to come back to this question and asking yourself who this content piece is really for. Who are you targeting? Who are you as a brand going to cater, and their problems are going to get solved by your services or your products? So like I said, I'll talk about a few questions which can help you understand where do you want to position yourself in the whole scenario of your brand positioning. So one of which I've already touched, which is like, who is it for? So who is it for is really important question. Like I said, it can be touched upon back and again. You have to come back to this question, even though it is not some kind of an exercise that you do once and you forget about it and you know where exactly you're going with it. Trust me, you can get lost a lot of time on the way when you are actually building up your brand. So it's really a good habit to get it back and forth again in understanding who you are really targeting. So who is it for? Is it for the people who are in corporate sector and looking to buy new houses? Is it for the people who are having enough capital or enough purchase power, and they're looking into some kind of a luxury homes or some kind of a elegant and sophisticated house to invest into. So you really have to see where exactly are you positioning yourself. So who is it really for? So you have to speak in their language in positioning your brand. Another important question that you need to ask yourself is, what is it for? Now, when I say what is it for, like, it doesn't mean the kind of facts and the benefits that you're going to talk about. What kind of luxury or what kind of satisfaction is it going to bring in the customers after using your services or products? That's what I mean when I say that what is it for. So it's really not the facts that people buy into, it's the stories that people buy into. And what is that story going to be all about? If you haven't checked out the video that I made on the brand story, you can check it out. I'll link it with this video. Now, the third question that you need to ask yourself is, what is the worldview of the audience that you're trying to cater and solve their problem? Now, when I talk about the worldview, it's really, really important to understand that now we're talking about the psychography of the audience. We're not talking about the demographic. So what that means is that we are not anymore in the world that we have to target in terms of, demographics like male, female, or age group, or which city or which place. That is really not much of our concern. What's really our concern is, what are the interests of those people? What are the political or worldviews or the kind of thinking process that they have around them in their society, from their community, or what kind of a culture has been affected their thinking power, so that you can talk in their language, so that they understand that what exactly are you talking about in providing as a solution. So now when I talk about the psychography, it doesn't mean that you have to get all political about it or make content around political affairs or anything of that sort. The point is to understand what is their worldview. What do you think they think like? So you have to make a complete bias persona around them. What kind of food do they eat? What kind of games do they play? And what kind of a belief system do they have? So you have to get really granular when it comes to understanding who is it for. Like I said, you will have to come back again to asking who is it really for. And all of these questions are in fact subcategories from one major question, which is, who is it for? Now, the next question that you need to be asking yourself is, what are they afraid about? Now, I don't mean that you talk about all the Netflix horror movies or categorize them into those particular people who like to watch them, or thrillers. Or what I mean by that is, what are their pain points? What are really something that they don't want to do? And what is something that they want but they cannot achieve them? So which is why you have to touch on the pain points. So you must know, when you're talking to your audience, what are their pain points? What are they afraid of? Now, another one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself while positioning yourself as a personal brand or a brand is, what story is it that you're going to talk about? And is that true? Now, when I talk about the story, like I already said, that I've made entire video completely on brand story. If you want to check it out, it must be somewhere on the links on top or after this video gets over. But you really need to understand this question very well, that what story are you going to tell them, and is it true or not? So one of the most important facts that I'm going to talk about in personal branding now is that personal brand does not mean who you are. Personal brand means who you want to become in order to serve the people that you want to serve. Now let me explain you. I've talked about this even in the previous videos and any of the content that I make around on Instagram and social media, other social media platforms, that authenticity is the problem. A lot of people believe that they need to be authentic on social media, they need to be authentic on personal brand. Now, what exactly is authenticity? Authenticity does not mean that you can do whatever the hell you want. And I think this is most of the perception in the crowd, in the public, around authenticity when it comes to personal branding. Personal branding doesn't have to do with authenticity in this definition. What does personal branding means in authenticity language is that if you have made a promise, you must deliver onto that promise. It doesn't matter what exactly you feel like. So it's about making a decision in delivering no matter whatever your intention is. Seth Godin gives a very good example on authenticity. He says that, let's say if you're going to the doctor and you have a scheduled surgery appointment today, and the doctor comes to you and he says that, you know what, I don't feel like doing it today, and because I had a fight with my spouse, so yada yada yada. And he says that, you know what, I'm just being authentic. You don't want him to be authentic at that moment. You want him to just deliver on the promise that he made at the first place. So this is what authenticity means. This is what the personal brand also means, that you have to be delivering on the promise that you made on the first place. So the story that you tell, you make sure whatever story you are telling, I don't care whether if it is true or not. What is really important here is that you deliver on the promise on basis of the story every single time consistently. Now, the last question that you need to be asking yourself when you are positioning yourself as a personal brand is, what is a change you seek to make? I know that I've said this a lot of times, that this is one of the most important questions, but trust me, these are all the most important questions already. So yes, I will go ahead and say to this as well. This is one of the most important questions to ask yourself when you are positioning yourself as a personal brand, that what kind of a change do you seek to make? What kind of a lifestyle change? What kind of a belief change? Or what kind of a story that you have shared with your audience, with your prospective customers, that is going to change their life with? So the kind of story that you share, the kind of positioning that you are making in terms of the audience that you want to serve, what kind of a change do you seek to make? What would be their worldview after they bring your services in their life or their products in their life? So is it going to be better? How better? What do you promise in terms of giving them hope about this is what is going to happen and this is how the solution is going to help them in solving their problem? So the change is really important in understanding where do you want to position yourself as a personal brand. Like, it has to be more than money. It has to be more than just selling stuff. When I talk about change do you seek to make, it really has to resonate with what is an impact that you want to make and how that impact is going to make customer or the person who is on the receiving end going to change their lives forever. Give a deep thought over it. So these are few of the questions that I believe are really important when you are positioning yourself as a personal brand. So guys, I hope you got some value out of this content that I shared on the brand positioning. If you want me to share more on the personal brand positioning, I will be more than happy to do that. In fact, I have a few more lined up in terms of brand positioning, and I also have some case studies to talk about, and I'll keep on doing it in the upcoming videos as well. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Stay tuned for the next video in the series. Till then, take care.